From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 6, streaming now.
Welcome into the news at 6 on WRTV. I'm Amanda STARRANTINO.
And I'm Mark Mullins. Good to have you here with us. First tonight, lawmakers in both parties have talked about the possibility of removing President Donald Trump from office. This comes after thousands of the president's supporters rioted, breaking into the U.S. Capitol building last evening, halting the election certification process, which was underway. President-elect Joe Biden called the riots an insurrection against the United States. Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi and Senate Minority Leader Charles Schumer are calling for the president to be immediately removed from office, either through the 25th Amendment or through impeachment. They both said that President Trump has the potential to cause more harm to the country. Senator Schumer explains why he feels this way.
What happened at the U.S. Capitol yesterday was an insurrection against the United States incited by President Trump. The president promoted conspiracy theories that motivated these thugs. He exhorted them to come to our nation's capital. He told them to march down Pennsylvania Avenue. And he said, "You will never take back our country with weakness."
To be clear, the 25th Amendment allows the vice president and a majority of the cabinet to declare the president unfit for office. The vice president then becomes acting president. But what's not clear is if Vice President Mike Pence supports such action or how extensive the talks have been about putting this or impeachment into motion. And this evening, the Associated Press reports that the U.S. Attorney for Washington, D.C. says, quote, all options are on the table for charging the rioters at the Capitol building. The United States Attorney mentioned sedition as a possible charge. The act of sedition is a crime. Sedition is when people conspire to overthrow the U.S. government or prevent, hinder, or delay the execution of U.S. law through force. And less than an hour ago, the White House press secretary held a briefing that didn't last more than 2 minutes. Kayleigh McEnany delivered a message on behalf of the White House, calling the violence yesterday appalling and reprehensible to the American way. She said everyone who broke the law should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. McEnany also mentioned the White House is focused on an orderly transition of power. President Trump was not a part of this briefing. Either way, President Trump's term officially ends January 20th with President-elect Joe Biden's inauguration. Overnight, Congress certified Biden's win after a long delay because of the riots inside the Capitol building. And today, President-elect Biden announced Merrick Garland as his pick for Attorney General at an event in Wilmington, Delaware. Garland is an experienced judge who has held senior positions at the Justice Department.
New tonight, the governor on the fate of Vice President Mike Pence and his message to the thousands of Hoosiers who filed for unemployment. Rafael Sanchez went one-on-one with the governor today.
Violence never wins. Freedom wins. And this is still the people's house.
The decision of Vice President Mike Pence not to stray from the certification process of Joe Biden triggered a tweet from the president before his account was shut down. Mr. Trump saying the vice president did not have the courage.
Your good friend, Mike Pence, the former governor of Indiana, has been very loyal to the current president, but the president in a tweet said that he lacked courage. What do you think will be the future of Mike Pence once his term in office comes to an end, sir?
Oh, his future's wide open. In my opinion, I've not talked to him about his future, but he'll have multiple options, and I never second guessed his loyalty to the Constitution, and he proved it again yesterday.
The governor says he was saddened and sickened by the images resulting in the storming of the Capitol and is concerned about the state of politics.
We're all elected officials are all judged on our words, rhetoric, and our actions that come from that.
Our discussion was happening as new numbers were released of more Hoosiers filing for unemployment benefits during this pandemic.
We're working daily to make sure that the tax dollars that are allocated are moved out the door to the people who rightly need and deserve them at this time. And we're doing it as fast as humanly possible.
The governor also mentioned that in light of what happened on Capitol Hill, that security at the State House is being reviewed. Nothing new is expected. because he says safety and security are always top of mind. Working for you, Rafael Sanchez, WRTV.
The governor says the state is also working to make sure the upcoming NCAA tournament is safe for all involved. We'll have more on that tomorrow morning on Good Morning Indiana.
Final preparations are underway as the general public is set to begin receiving the COVID-19 vaccine tomorrow. Senior citizens age 80 and older are eligible to receive it. Tonight, WRTV's Megan Sanctorum is working to answer your questions about how to register, what to expect, and why some say this day will be so important.
We're out and about every day of the week.
Meet Paul and Dana Flack. At 80 and 78 years old, they might be some of the most active seniors you know. But the pandemic has impacted their on-the-go lifestyle.
We eat out once a day, work out at the gym.
Which we haven't been doing because it's just not safe.
For now, they're sticking to outdoor walks. But news that Paul Flack at 80 is eligible for a vaccine is the start to a light at the end of the tunnel for them.
We're ready.
Yeah. I feel safe with it. I think that they've proven that it's going to help millions of us.
Seniors 80 and older can call 211 or visit ourshot.in.gov starting tomorrow to make a vaccine appointment. The shots are free to eligible populations. They will all be administered through the state program, meaning you cannot make an appointment through your primary care doctor. However, many of the appointments will be at healthcare facilities like IU Health.
We're proactively partnering with the state to help us get out of this, which is what we all want. And you think about what this is giving is not just the personal protection of health and the prevention, but also the ability to see loved ones and family members that folks haven't seen in a long time. And this is giving that back to them.
And that is something the Flacks are looking forward to.
It's affected our family because we have to take precautions when they've been around somebody with COVID. So we're not seeing them as often.
And they hope to get vaccinated as soon as possible.
It's just scary for our age group.
We'll feel a little safer, I think, if we're vaccinated.
Working for you, Megan Sanctorum, WRTV.
Well, homebound seniors over 80 receiving Medicaid transportation services can use that service to get to their appointment. Several local health departments tell us they are also working on finalizing transportation plans for homebound seniors. We'll let you know when we know more.
There are new changes to contact tracing in Indiana when it comes to exactly who will be contacted and how. Our Nikki Dementri is working for you by taking a look at these changes and asking the Marion County Contact Tracing Program, what's next?
Let me be clear. We are not giving up on contact tracing.
But the rules behind contact tracing in Indiana are changing once again. Dr. Christina Box announced Wednesday the discontinuation of outbound calls to non-household close contacts of those infected with COVID-19.
We've reviewed our contact tracing data and determined that about 60% of our non-household close contacts fail to respond to our repeated calls, text, or other outreach.
These individuals will still get an initial text message, but Box says the move is to help support the vaccine rollout effort.
These changes should not significantly impact our contact tracing.
What do these changes mean for the average Hoosier?
So what I've been telling people is at this point, our transmission is so high, you should assume anytime you go out in public, anytime you leave your house, you're potentially exposed to COVID-19.
Shandy DEARTH with IUPUI says as the pandemic evolved, so is tackling contact tracing.
So you use contact tracing to kind of control the cases, control the spread. But what we've seen is that we've also been a conduit between social services and the community.
Since midsummer, IUPUI has worked hand in hand with Marion County and the city of Indianapolis. $10.3 million from the city was granted to the university's Fairbanks School of Public Health to aid with the efforts. DEARTH heads the project.
We don't just operate a call center where everyone takes in the next call. We've actually specialized our teams. So we have a team that specializes in K-12 cases, long-term care cases.
The grant was used to hire, train, and manage 300 contact tracers. Currently, there are around 160 in the program. DEARTH says the new changes doesn't necessarily put strain on the local health department.
We have shifted gears a little bit more, so we have added more people into our call center, and we've added an additional supervisor together.
The initial funding for this program did end on December 31st, but for now, this program is continuing. DEARTH says she's been told both the city and county health departments are looking for additional funding. Working for you, Nikki Dementri, WRTV.
It should be pointed out that the latest stimulus bill does include funding towards contact tracing efforts. Regardless of when that money comes down, a city official told WRTV it is committed to finding funding to continue the program. As for the Marion County Health Department, the program has been, quote, a tremendous asset in helping with contact tracing, according to the city. DEARTH expects contact tracing efforts will be needed until the summer.
The number of reported bullying incidents is down in Indiana schools. That's according to the latest data. But one state lawmaker says those numbers can be deceiving and more needs to be done to protect students. WRTV Investigates' Kara Kenny has been tracking bullying in the Indiana schools for years and joins us now with this latest effort at the State House.
Representative Greg Porter filed House Bill 1185. It would require charter and private schools to follow the same anti-bullying requirements as public schools.
My new school, it seems that everybody loves me now.
Davy Combs is a freshman at a Central Indiana public school, but when he attended private school, Davy says he was bullied repeatedly.
They'd say mean things like call me baby. It didn't make me feel good.
By law, private schools do not have to report bullying numbers to the State Department of Education. Representative Greg Porter says that needs to change. He filed House Bill 1185, which would require charter schools and private schools to adopt anti-bullying policies if they accept funding or financial assistance from the state.
We cannot continue to fund education and then everyone gets check a box saying that they're exempt. Public schools are not exempt, so why should charter schools, virtual schools, and schools like that be exempt?
Porter's bill comes as statewide numbers show the number of bullying incidents reported by schools is dropping. 4,400 incidents reported in the 2019-2020 school year compared to 5,200 the year before and 5,600 in 2017-2018. Last school year's numbers include March through June 2020, when many school buildings were closed due to COVID-19.
And the flip side is that they're not being bullied as much because they don't have as much contact with the bullies.
Mindy Goodpaster is with the Indiana Coalition for Human Services and has lobbied for anti-bullying legislation. She anticipates bullying numbers will drop again for this current school year.
We are going to see lower numbers of reports. We may see an increase in cyberbullying because now students are using the virtual platforms, and that's a tricky thing. That's always been a tricky thing for schools on how to deal with virtual bullying that is related to their students who go to their school, but does not happen on school grounds.
Schools are supposed to report physical, verbal, social, and electronic bullying. In its annual report, the Department of Education says due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the subsequent closure of school buildings in March 2020, comparing data to any previous school year will not be an effective measure of trends.
Even through the pandemic, our schedule stays the same. Districts are still responsible to submit data.
IDOE spokesperson Adam Baker says schools will submit their data from this school year at the end of June, and the state will publish the new bullying numbers in August.
If a parent looks at the report, they feel it's inaccurate, they feel there's an issue in their school, they should absolutely reach out to their district first. If they feel that's not being resolved, then they should reach out to us as well.
Porter's legislation would also require schools that accept choice scholarships to adopt discipline rules that prohibit bullying.
Let's just get it done.
Prompted by a WRTV investigation, in 2018, Porter had legislation signed into law for the state to get better information about bullying in schools. Davy Combs hopes this latest bill helps protect more students, including those in non-public schools.
I think that's great. I think it'll be good for all the kids. Like they'll be treated better.
Porter has filed this legislation several years in a row, but it has failed to pass. House Bill 1185 has been assigned to the Education Committee, and Porter is hoping it gets a hearing very soon. Working for you, Kara Kenny, WRTV.
And we do want to point out WRTV Investigates reached out to groups representing charter schools and private schools. The Institute for Quality Education, which represents charter schools, told us no comment on Porter's bill. We have not heard back yet from the Indiana Non-Public Education Association. If you feel the bullying numbers at your child's school are not adding up, you can contact the Indiana Department of Education at 317-232-0524. That's the number for the Chief Academic Officer, Robin LeClaire.
I think I know the answer to this question. Are you ready for temperatures to jump into the mid-40s? The catch is, how long will we wait for that to happen?
And less than 48 hours until the Colts and Bills face off in the wild card playoff. Coming up in sports, Brad gets details, and with our Scripps crew in Buffalo, they'll be talking about the key matchups for Saturday's game.
Wood.com.
Our temperature trend keeps temperatures at or below average until we get late weekend, and then we start to climb by Tuesday. That's not when we'll reach 45. It will come later next week. We'll have more on that in a second. While I'm thinking of it, I just checked on the Colts forecast in Buffalo. Partly cloudy skies and temperatures in the 30s. That is a good Buffalo forecast because remember, they get tons of lake effect snow. What's not in our forecast? No rain or snow. Friday through Monday, even early next week right now looks dry. We'll keep our eyes on the system Monday night and Tuesday. Down along the Ohio River, maybe a snow flurry or two from Louisville over along Interstate 64 and south. Could see quarter to half inch amounts there, a dusting really. There's your larger picture. The storm system swirling in Mississippi will move east across Alabama, Georgia, and to the Carolinas, and it will take the moisture with it. As far as what's happening now, city lights taking over on what's been another cloudy day. Temperatures in the mid-30s in Indianapolis, 35 in Castleton, 35 in Plainfield. 35 just about everywhere in central Indiana. Temperatures only a little warmer to the south and west because we have the clouds around. That's kept our overnight lows from dropping off too much, and that'll happen again tonight. Wake up to temperatures in the upper 20s to around 30. Afternoon temperatures tomorrow, they'll struggle. Low 30s, but we should see a break or two in the cloud cover. Let's pick up the timeline on that storm system I showed you just south of the Ohio River now. During the morning hours tomorrow, it's already in the mid-Atlantic and pulling away. For us, we'll start to get drier air filtering in, which will lead to this, a mixture of clouds and sunshine. Saturday and Sunday, Sunday's temperature at 37. We start in the mid-20s because of the breaks in the cloud cover. We're a little cooler. 34 your Saturday high. Temperatures are warmest next week once we get to Wednesday and Thursday. Temperatures climb into the low to mid-40s. Nothing major here in this 7-day forecast. We'll watch a southern system again for Monday night and Tuesday. But right now it looks like it stays south. Amanda, Mark?
All right, Kevin, thank you for that. The Colts are getting set to kick off the NFL playoffs this weekend. They face the Bills on Saturday.
And it's time to get some insight on both teams. Brad Brown talked with our Scripps guys in Buffalo about the matchup. Here's tonight's Sports Extra Spotlight.
Matt Beauvais from our ABC Scripps station, Channel 7 in Buffalo, joins us now on Wild Card Week. First of all, how crazy has this whole season been up there? As good as the Bills have been, but none of those people have been able to go and see the games at the stadium yet.
You have no idea. Oh my gosh, people are losing their minds. It is the most, everybody says up here, it's the most Buffalo thing to happen. The team finally gets good after 25 years and fans can't even be there. But this weekend, finally, fans will be allowed back. And now, granted, it is just under 7,000 people, but it's been unbelievable. This is such a football town. Everybody lives and breathes Bills up here. And now the team's legit, and we haven't been able to say that for a long, long time.
What's impressed you most about what this group has done this season? I mean, it's kind of a soft question, but what has stood out?
It starts with Josh Allen. It ends with Josh Allen. Josh Allen went from a guy who fans were cautiously optimistic about last season. You liked what he could do. You liked his skill set. You liked what he does off the field, to a guy who is a legit bona fide MVP contender. He's not going to win it this year. It's probably going to be Aaron Rodgers, but he's absolutely in the conversation. I mean, you guys in Indianapolis have been spoiled for a while with Peyton Manning, with Andrew Luck for a little while. And hey, even Phillip Rivers now. I know he's not what he used to be, but he's still a good player. we don't have franchise quarterbacks here very often. Since Jim Kelly, it's been a lot of guys trying to fill those shoes. Nobody's been able to do it. Josh Allen not only has filled those shoes, but he's broken basically every record Kelly ever set here in Buffalo.
Is there a weakness to this team? 13-3, I guess it's hard to find something, but is there a weakness you see?
Yeah, the weakness is on defense, and it's just the inconsistency with their ability to stop the run. And when you play a team like the Colts with Jonathan Taylor and with Nyheim Hines, that is a potential aspect where the Colts could take advantage of the Bills. And that's why I think it's going to be so important for the Bills to potentially build an early lead, because if they do get up early, then I don't think the Colts can really lean on that running game maybe like they would like to.
What's the weather looking like up there for Saturday? Because that's always the thing that we talk about potentially.
It's going to be cold, but it's not going to be super snowy. And I do think that might play into the Bills' favor a little bit. Phillip Rivers is an older quarterback compared to some of his counterparts in the league. I looked it up. I know that the Colts have 5 losses this year, which is a really, really impressive season. But 4 of those losses have come outside. So it seems like they're a more vulnerable team once they get outdoors. And if it was going to be really snowy, if it was going to be really rainy, I think both teams would probably try and lean on their running backs to take over the game. It doesn't look like that's going to be the case. It should be a relatively clear day, even though it's going to be cold. And that means the Bills are going to sling it all over the yard. Don't be surprised if they run the ball like 15 times or less, because that's the identity of this offense now. It's throw, 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 and every once in a while mix in a run.
All right, stay warm up there. Enjoy the week. Enjoy the game. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Rivers.com.
Still dry, some sunshine in the afternoon hours tomorrow. Temperature struggle though, 34 the high. Just think toward next week when we get 40 or above. That's later next week. Mark and Amanda?
Thanks, Kevin, and thanks for joining us here on WRTV.
Join us at 7.